Hi guys, hope everyone is doing well. Bit of a weird topic today for everyone, and it's a couple of different things. Well, let me just get started. If I talk about what I'm going to talk about, it will sound like it's all not connected, but it is. It's all connected. So let me just start at the beginning. So a couple of days ago, I was talking to somebody who knows a lot about clocks and watches. And so I was asking him loads of questions. We got onto the topic of the best clocks in the world. And then, say hello to the little dog. Can you see her? And then afterwards, I was thinking more about the best clocks in the world. And I started wondering, what is the worst clock in the world? And immediately I knew the answer. I didn't have to question any further. And I think you'll all agree that perhaps the worst clock ever was the millennium clock in Dublin, which was installed in 1996. And let me tell you, if you're not Irish or you don't know about the, stories about wastes of money in Dublin and things like that, let me just give you a quick overview. The millennium clock was this big clock that was planned to float in the Liffey for 4 years, apparently, counting down the seconds to the millennium. And, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know why. I don't know why they started it 4 years before. And so it weighed, let me just get the details, it was 6 tons. 7-segment display, counting down the number of seconds to the year 2000. And it was supposed to be submerged under the surface of the River Liffey on the west side of O Connell Bridge in Dublin city centre, which is right in the middle. And it was turned on in March 1996 with a big dramatic celebration and fireworks display and all sorts of excitement and emotion. And they removed it already 3 days later because of boat races in the Liffey. Then it was put back. And by the way, it cost £250,000 to construct, just to construct. And, immediately it was a bit of a disaster because I think I remember going and looking at it myself. I think I have vague memories of kind of seeing something there, but there was just so much mud and dirty water on top that you couldn't really see it. Finally, in August, so from March to August, it floated there in the River Liffey, and then it was removed for the annual Liffey swim, which is when people swim in the River Liffey 2.2 kilometers. God bless their souls. It was removed and it was not returned. And the whole, they had spent £58,000 on repairs and removal and everything. They didn't put it back. I think they just gave up. So that was disappointing. 3.5 years before the millennium. However, on O'Connell Bridge, they did keep this postcard machine for a couple of months. That when you generate, you paid for a postcard 20p, the old Irish money. Yeah, when I say pounds, I mean Irish pounds. We used to have very beautiful Irish money. And it's more solid and a lot more beautiful than the euro, let's be honest. And the postcards were available for 20p. But at the time you bought the postcard, it would tell you the exact number of seconds left until the millennium. So that actually made money, £17,000. I think they would have left it there for a little bit longer to kind of make up for the loss of the clock, but I don't know why they didn't. Anyway, so when I was thinking about this the other day, and I just went reading back on the disaster of the Dublin Millennium Clock, just to go over the details again, I feel like the dove wants to be a little more involved. I'm kind of leaving her out. So yeah, when I was looking up the details about it, I found out something that I didn't actually know, and it's a better story than the whole Millennium Clock disaster itself. And that is in the space on O'Connell Bridge where they had the control box, so there's this small little box. It was left empty afterwards, just this hole in the bridge. And in 2004, some pranksters apparently placed a plaque there commemorating Father Pat Noise. And I'll show you a picture of the plaque. It reads, "This plaque commemorates Father Pat Noise, advisor to Pater Clancy. He died under suspicious circumstances when his carriage plunged into the Liffey on August 10th, 1919. And then a profile of a man. And you know the way you see so many plaques and you just don't really think about it. You obviously think, oh, some famous person, somebody who did something for the city or something like that. You kind of just usually don't really read them, just pass them by. This was there for 2 years before a historian realized that this was a little bit suspicious because Father Pat Noise had never existed and there was no suspicious carriage crash. It was... So apparently when the historian, Mr. Lydia, I can't remember his name, questioned, let me see. So when Pat Liddy, the historian, questioned what was going on with this plaque, Dublin City Council said that it was not official. They had never heard of Father Pat Noise. They didn't know what it was. And it all came out that it was just a hoax. And then a friend of the two brothers who had apparently placed the plaque there issued a statement that it was apparently a play on Pater Noster, our father, and apparently the profile was the profile of their own father's face. And they said, quote, "I hope that this experience has lifted people a little and added in some way to their lives. And until its removal, may it bring a smile to all who pass the location of this suspicious crash." In December of the same year, in 2006, Labour councillor Dermot Lacey put forward a motion that the plaque should remain in place. He said it was a bit of madness, a bit of colour, and that the council should just admit that they'd been bested and leave it in place. And then they removed the plaque in early 2007. Then the two brothers replaced it with another plaque, exactly the same. And then the city council was going to remove it again, but then Councillor Lacey stepped in again, good old Mr. Lacey, and he reminded the council that they had voted to leave it in place. So apparently it is still there to this day. And when it was first discovered it was a hoax, people were like leaving flowers there and taking photos of it and everything. It's quite small. Apparently it's only 6 inches by 8 inches. There's actually a video on YouTube of this woman talking about it. So I'll leave a link so you can kind of see the plaque and where it is. And she probably tells the story better. Goes into a little bit more detail than I do here. So you should definitely check that out. Looking up all of this stuff in Dublin, I got to think about other things or monuments that have been moved or taken away. And I remembered, who remembers when the Floozie in the Jacuzzi was on O Connell Street back in the day? So she was, well, I'll show you some photos of her. She was moved to make way for something which is far worse. The Floozie in the Jacuzzi is basically Anna Livia, which is like a female embodiment of the river Liffey, which runs through the centre of Dublin. And it's from... Anna Livia Plurabelle is the name of a character in James Joyce's Finnegan's Wake, who also embodies the river. So when she was in her original location, she's kind of like reclining, lying back in this, well, I guess like bath, jacuzzi, with the water running over her like she is a river or a part of the river. And I remember seeing her in O Connell Street. I think I remember the first time I saw her back in the day. I remember my mother pointing her out and being like, look, there she is. That's art. And I was like, but she's green. Anyway, in 2001, the Floozie in the Jacuzzi was moved to make room for the Spire of Dublin, which I guess we could compare it to the millennium clock, is it? In that it's, I guess you couldn't say it's not a failure. It's not a structural failure in the literal sense, but it's just really quite, in my opinion, ugly and pointless. In Anna Livia's new place, she's kind of like, she's still leaning back, obviously, but she doesn't have her whole bath around her anymore, so it just looks kind of awkward and uncomfortable. I don't like the way she looks now. I think there's something weird about it. So anyway, Anna Livia is in her new place in Memorial Park next to the Liffey near Houston Station. And I didn't actually know that she was commissioned by Michael Smurfett, who was the owner of the K Club. I thought he was still the owner, but apparently it sold in 2019 for 70 million euros. It's a place home of the Ryder Cup 2006 and the European Golf Open every July. First weekend of every July. Good times. Anyway, let me tell you a little bit about what replaced Anna Livia, or the Floozy, in the Jacuzzi. And this was the Spire, which is a large stainless steel pin-like monument, 120 meters in height, located on the site of the former Nelson's Pillar, which is a whole other story as well, and the statue of William Blakeney on O Connell Street in Ireland, so right in the centre of Dublin. It's, I don't know what to say about it. It was completed in 2003. It cost 4 million euros. It's really tall. It's been nominated for a number of awards. I don't know why. I can appreciate it that it's probably difficult, like architecturally, it's scientifically difficult to create a structure like that and keep it safe, but it doesn't make it any prettier. I mean, the only thing I can think of it's useful for is for meeting people. If you say, I'll meet you by the Spire, if they don't know where Dublin is, but that can also lead to problems itself, because I've done that with people. And they get off the bus like 4 stops too early because the Spire is so tall that you can see from so far away that you think you're closer than you are. You end up having to walk. About the reception of the Spire, people, you have to let me know if you hate it or love it or are indifferent. But it says here, supporters compare it to other initially unpopular urban structures such as the Eiffel Tower, while detractors complain that the Spire has little architectural or cultural connection to the city, which I would agree with. How can a big metal pin have an architectural or cultural connection to anything? It has inspired a number of nicknames, as is common with public art in Dublin, like we saw with the Floozie and the Jacuzzi. And actually, I should have mentioned the Millennium Clock was also called the Chime and the Slime, so Dubliners have a way with words, so to speak. And so the Spire was called, or is called, the Nail in the Pale, because the Pale is the area of like Dublin and the surrounding area. The Stiletto in the Ghetto, which is my personal favourite, I find that quite amusing. The Pin in the Bin. The Stiffy by the Liffey, and the Spire in the Mire, or the Spike. So, I don't know, am I just being overly negative about this Spire? Is there any beauty? Is it the sort of thing when, you know, something's not beautiful, but you just see it so many times, then in the end you just kind of like it? Like a song, the song that really annoys you on the radio. You hear it again and again, and it ends up growing on you, like against your will, against your wishes, you end up liking it. I don't think I'll end up liking it, but when I see photos, like nicely taken photos of the skyline with the Spire, I'm kind of like, yeah, maybe. But overall, just no. I just think it's a waste of money. So guys, let me know what you think about the Chime and the Slime, Father Pat Noise, the Jacuzzi, the Floozy in the Jacuzzi, Anna Livia, and the Stiletto in the Ghetto. I hope you enjoyed this weird little conversation, and I'll be talking to you again soon.